Well, this wasn't supposed to happen. The Mitsubishi I fixed earlier today that had the pissing capacitor was supposed to go back together and go back into my storage unit and to sit there forever. But before I could get it together, it blew up again. So let's see what went wrong with it this time. I didn't even get this thing together. This is the one that the capacitor blew up on. And it's developed another problem. It won't play the tape. This is one of the reasons why so many techs got fed up with this stuff. Is you'd with the older equipment, you'd fix one problem and another problem would crop up. And especially with VCRs, because they were so mechanical. You know, they'd be working fine and you'd send them out and they'd come back the next day with a totally different problem. And you know, we'll see why this one's doing this. I didn't even get this one together. This, of course, is the one, if you saw the last video, that cap was spilling its guts. I'm curious as to whether another cap has decided to, you know, take a piss on the board. I go to hook up my stupid scope, and I'm getting this on there. And I'm wondering, what's causing that interference? Yep, you got it. The plasma TV is causing the interference on my scope. My scope probe is sitting like 3 feet from it. We're back on. And, yeah, we're getting a little bit of an induction there. And that's using the times 10 probe. Even when I ground the probe, that induction is actually getting right into the scope itself. That is ridiculous. Plasma TVs, they throw so much interference. No wonder they're hated by radio amateurs. Turn this thing on, it'd probably interfere with the ham like 10 blocks away. But this thing started working. Here, it's just gone out again. This is what it's doing.
So
it's like it's cutting in and out.
Well, you as a contestant take advantage of this special value offering.
So that's what it's doing. It's just, it'll work and then it cuts out. Besides the fact that it's got a mechanical noise, while the clutch is just screaming away.
$100 American Express gift. Sell and register.
And as you can see, when it cuts out, we're losing both the picture and sound. Okay, the unit is faulting once again, and this should be the RF from the video heads, and I don't see any RF there. I'm scoping it on the test point, which is test point 2A, which is right there, and I have not put my trigger. So this is test point 2A. This should be the RF waveform from the heads, and it's not. So I'm curious as to why I'm not getting any RF. It could be the preamp is bad, or there could be a power supply problem too, I guess, if the preamp isn't getting any voltage. But it's weird, because when I tapped on the board, you know, tap on the board, I just had to run my fingers on the board here, and the picture cut in. Okay, now it came on. See, now it's working. Sort of. It's not tracking, but that might be because there was no signal when it went through the auto tracking. If I stop it and start it up again, it might, or if I eject the tape, it might auto track. Okay, that's looking better. Now the RF has come back. It's interesting. I had no RF, and then the RF came back. tap on the board, you see, if you can see what I'm doing here, I'll just show you guys what I'm doing. Try and get the scope in the screen at the same time. I'm just tapping, you know, with my finger. I can use anything. And that's all I did was I just, okay. Somewhere on this board, and when I do that, watch the screen. When I tap on the board, somewhere on this board there's a connection. Okay, I guess it's time to get the magnifying glass out and see, and no, it's not the capacitor that I put in before. I think that might be it right there. That was uncovered when I took that glue off, right? That was gluing that other capacitor down, but look at those connections. Right there. I think that might be it. Let me just resolder those. Shut off the power here. We'll just redo those connections. They were the ones that were actually underneath that the white glue that I took off that was holding that other cap in place. So, yeah, they look bad. You saw the cracks on there. Let's see if this fixes it. Nope. It doesn't. Something else. Weird, because it kind of starts up, like it started okay, and then the picture cuts out. Interesting. Something's definitely interfering with the, now it's working, of course. No, when it acts up, it's acting up on the RF. Like, you'll see it. I didn't get a shot of it a second ago when it was acting up. You saw it when there was no picture, but when it was flickering and flashing, it was showing up on the RF. So something's happening over at the head preamp. Whether the power is not getting switched properly to the preamp to put it in playback, if you saw what I'm talking about, it's hard to describe. But it was like the waveform was like, it was like the power was going on and off. There, it's acting up again. It's like it's not getting power. I gotta check some voltages here, and see if I'm getting power to the preamp. So the wires going to the preamp come up from the main board here. It's not that one because I unplugged it and the picture actually came back. But I plug it in and the picture goes away. That's interesting. Very interesting. I unplug this and the picture comes back. Look at this. I'm not kidding you guys. I got no picture. I got no RF. I unplugged this and I'm getting a sort of picture. It's fading in and out, but I'm getting one head showing up. It's not tracking. It's like so the control track. It's not sending the PG pulse or the FG pulse from the control track. It looks like when I unplug that connector, but when I plug it back in, I've got nothing. Weird. So this is a condensed version for the impatient people that don't like to see troubleshooting. The full version, both part 1 and 2, will be put up later for my Patreon viewers to watch everything. I'm going to pull the head preamp out and just take a look at the board in there. See if any capacitors are leaking inside this unit here. Yeah, if you forget to put that ground wire in, you'll have lots of interference in the picture too. I just want to look in here. Something's going on with the preamp, and it might be something to do with this black crap. This has gone all. This is pressing up against the board here, and what I'm thinking is that may be causing a short and causing this thing to try to go into the record mode and play mode at the same time. Look at the black. This is a felt on there, and it's all deteriorated. And I bet you this is going conductive. One thing I did want to look at is the power supply, because you remember I said these caps leak. So I've taken the screws out here for the power transformer. Let's take a look at the board and see how yummy this is. This is probably where our problem is on this one. We're losing a voltage somewhere. Look at this. It's wet. Oh. Another one of these caps is pissed on the board. Which one? Which one's let go? One of these caps is let go on the board. And that's probably why our playback problem is affected. The classic Mitsubishi power supply problem. They were just terrible. And for a non-switching design, they certainly had their share of problems. I bet you that's why this thing's not working. Why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Yum. Look at that. Betcha that's where the problem is. So that's interesting, because I don't see any leakage out of these capacitors. Normally, you would think if they were leaking, you would see it on the board here. But there's nothing on the board, on this side of the board anyway, so it's evident on the other side. Looks like this one here is the one that's probably been the one that's been leaking, and the electrolytic from here just poured out onto it, actually soaked through the board. Here comes the smell that you guys love. It's going to smell like the back end of a tuna schooner here in a second. If I could actually get the solder to melt. Oh, wonderful smell. PU. Good thing the door is open. Holy smoke, you need a fume hood for this. Beauty, huh? Oh, wonderful. Look at that. Cool, huh? What a joke. Nikon 3300 at 16. Yeah, I know. I'm not putting the right size of cap in. I don't have one. I don't have a. What's 3300? Yeah, I don't have a 3300. It's gonna have to do with 1000. I just want to make it work. I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll get the job done. The machine's not going to be going into service anyway, so it's more like this is just a proof of concept as to what the problem was, and but the problem with these caps is it was quite a common fault on these machines. And I don't know whether these traces are damaged or not. There could be some more connections in here that are bad. I'll have to wipe them down. Clean this electric leg off, because it goes conductive, causes leakage, and attacks the copper. I always like these Mitsubishis. From a reliability point of view, were fairly good. The transport on them was good. The biggest problem was the grease would tend to dry up on the mechanism, and they would break a lot of pinch arms. That was a common fault on these units. Some of them even had flying erase heads. I don't know if this was one or not. I'm just looking to see if it's got... Yeah, I think this was a flying erase head, this one. The ones with flying erase heads could do video dubbing. Yeah, this one has flying erase heads. This is actually a very good one for a regular VHS. This one could do video insert dubbing, because you've got your two heads here, and there's a flying erase head on here as well. Where is it? Had the two audio heads, two audio hi-fi heads, and two flying erase heads, and four video heads. Looks like. Yep. So here's the heads. Four video heads. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the audio heads, and then these other two pins over here. These are the ones for the flying erase head with this capacitor across it here to provide isolation. So they're in series with each other. So there's the flying erase rotary transformer for that. Another cap that's showing signs of leakage is this little one right down here on the capstan motor. And that could certainly cause some problems. Yeah, that one's been leaking too. We'll try changing that one out and see whether that makes any difference. 10 at 25 volts. When you're working near this capsule motor, you got to be really careful you don't touch the plastic here with your iron, because that's magnetically coated. That's what's used to pick up the FG signal right here on the little Hall effect pickup. So if you touch that with an iron, you will damage the magnetic signal that's recorded on it. It's got a series of pulses, and then it won't be detected, and the motor won't run at the right speed. And then it'll change speed every time it makes a rotation.
could show them a system where all the bulky electronics could be hidden out of sight? And what if the equipment you did show them was both elegant and
Okay,
easy to use?
so
And what if you could help them make a single decision?
we have a picture.
A single purchase with only one box for you to carry to their car.
We have a picture. So, yeah, it could have been either one of those caps, I guess, that was... Well, the one on the power supply was certainly leaky. This one here on the capstan motor, maybe it wasn't providing a signal through it. That's usually one that's used to couple the FG signal. Anyway, yeah, seems to be working, so we'll leave it at that. As I say, this unit, it's just one of mine that was given to me, and I've just been sitting on it for a bit. So it looks like this one's resurrected again. Hopefully it'll stay working long enough for me to put it back together and we can move on to something else. Thanks for watching. And also what I did is I did a couple of things here off camera. I took out all that circuit glue, so I don't know whether it was a circuit glue that was gone conductive that was muting the video, or whether it was this other little cap. But it didn't work after changing out the cap in the power supply, which doesn't surprise me because it wasn't open. There was no traces or anything that were open. It was just leaking onto the board, so it was bad and it had to go. So that one was replaced, and this one was replaced on the capstan motor, and I picked off the circuit glue off the board here, and the unit's working. So one of those caused the problem. Anyway, I'm done on this. I've spent too much time on this thing now. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon.